Music going, Ellie.
We'll go ahead and get started right now. Thank you everyone for joining us this morning. My name is Erin Foley. I'm the program specialist here at the Cedar Rapids Metro Economic Alliance, where our mission is to help our businesses succeed and to drive economic growth in the region. Today I'm joined by Allan Boettger. He's the Senior Director of Corporate and Community Outreach with the Pomerantz Center at the University of Iowa. And he's going to be showing us all how to use Handshake as a powerful workforce pipeline for your organization. As a former Hawkeye myself, I actually used Handshake to get my own internship. So I know it works it's a great way for students to connect with employers. And I did find a couple of statistics onto why it's a good tool for employers as well. I saw that and Allan, maybe you're going to cover this in your presentation, but they have a 65% message open rate, which is 3 times the industry average, a 215% increase in applications year over year on Handshake, as well as a 150% increase in employer brand awareness. So just by that, you can tell that it's a really great tool for connecting with students. And I'd also like to thank our program sponsor, Northwestern Mutual. We have Seth Powell's joining us today, and I'm going to let him tell you all a little bit about how Northwestern Mutual can help you with your financial planning. So take it away, Seth.
Thanks, Erin. Morning, everybody. So at Northwestern Mutual, we understand there's a lot depending on your business. For you, your family, and employees to sustain and succeed, your business must succeed. As we've all learned to evolve and adapt, you're still making plans to grow or pivot your business. Our team of advisors are here to help make it happen, with a financial plan specifically designed around your vision. From initial startup to passing your business on down the road, you'll have a trusted partner and financial plan to back you up and help answer the questions most business leaders struggle with, such as, how can I keep my key employees now and after I exit my business to ensure it continues? How will my business continue to thrive if something happens to me, a partner, or key member of my team? Who am I selling my business to, and what is the best way to transfer it? When do I want to retire, and how will I confidently pay myself once I do? At a time when so many are counting on you, you'll have a team that you can count on as well. And since you'll be in a control of your money at any stage of your business, you'll have more opportunities to focus on the bigger things in your business and life. If you need help getting clarity around any of these questions I've laid out today, you can email me at seth.pals@nm.com, and I'll connect you with one of our business-focused advisors, and I can put my email in the chat. We thank you all for being here, and we're proud to be a part of the business support programming. Small businesses are vital to the growth and vibrance of our community. We love the fact there's a forum for all of us to learn from one another. And with that, I'll kick things over to Erin to introduce our speaker.
Yeah, go ahead and take it away, Allan. Thank you, Seth.
All right. Hi, everybody. Thanks, Seth. It's great to have you on. I know that Northwestern Mutual is a big user of Handshake, so that's a good transition. I appreciate your sponsorship here too this morning. I'm going to share my slideshow with you today, and then talk a lot. We're going to talk a lot about Handshake. Handshake is not what we've been somewhat avoiding for the last 16 months, but it's actually a software program that we use to connect students and employers with potential internships and full-time jobs. So we're going to talk a lot about that this morning. If you get sick of my voice, just turn the volume down. Most of the information I'm going to share is in the text, but if you enjoy my voice, you can listen to Smart FM, which is an all 80s station here in Cedar Rapids, 95.1 Cedar Rapids, 95 Iowa City, all 80s all the time. Part of the KZIA family of radio stations, which is a proud member of the Cedar Rapids Metro Economic Alliance. So, all right, that's my side hustle plug. Welcome this morning, everyone. I have been working at the University of Iowa for the last 16 years. Working with employers to make sure they know how to connect with students here on campus. Sometimes I do that well. But we've really invested heavily in Handshake to make it even better. It's really improved our ability to connect students with positions, both internships and full-time jobs. I'm hopeful that you can see my PowerPoint right now. Is that true? Great. All right, so let's get started. Handshake at the U of Iowa is really built to, like I said, connect students with employers. And students and alums both have the option to upload resumes and cover letters, do all the things that are bulleted here, apply for those jobs and internships, attend in-person interviews, career fairs and events, and connect with other students and alumni as well in the system. That's a relatively recent upgrade in Handshake, where students are able to network with each other and with alums through the system as well. And we won't talk about that much today. We'll focus mostly on the employer options, but I just want to give you an idea of how students can and might use the system a little bit as well. For employers, you have the option to create a profile, much like a social media profile. You can create one for yourself as a recruiter as well, if you haven't done that already. You have the option to post jobs and internships, obviously, review applications, take applications through the system, connect with your system as well, have people apply through your website if you prefer that, rather than having them apply through Handshake. All aspects of the communication with your applicants. And then with the University of Iowa, you can actually schedule interviews here on campus or virtually through our system as well, and then participate in both virtual and in-person career fairs through Handshake, as well as plan and put on your own events virtually or in person as well. We're going to cover a lot of those things today. One of the huge benefits of Handshake is being able to connect with many colleges and universities across the country. I think there are over 14,000. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. But locally here, as part of the Cedar Rapids Metro Economic Alliance, we have partnerships with College, Cornell, Kirkwood, Mount Mercy, and the University of Iowa. We're all on Handshake, so it's a great way to be able to connect with the colleges and universities in the area. We have quite a few other colleges and universities in Iowa, and I've listed those as well. Obviously, we would like you to really connect with the 5 of us first, and then go from there. It's really great because you can target the colleges and universities that have programs that match up with the kind of needs that you have in your workforce. And the system allows you to kind of sort and look through to do that. I'm going to hop over and play a little interview I did with Emerald from True North Companies, and we'll talk a little bit after that. Here, let me see if I can get to the right screen here. Lots of clicking, I apologize. Here we go. Good morning, Emerald. Thanks for joining me today. I was hoping to ask you a few questions about Handshake.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Emerald works at True North in Cedar Rapids and recruits students using Handshake. Emerald, can you talk a little bit about how you use Handshake?
Yeah, so a lot of what True North uses Handshake for is for our internship program. So we have a pretty big internship program every summer. So probably around late August, early September, we use that to post all of our internship positions. And then we also will use it for entry-level positions as well.
Great. Can you talk a little bit about what you like most, and maybe if there's something that you dislike about Handshake that you can talk about?
Yeah, so I think for me, a few things that I like the most about Handshake, when you post a position on there, you can pick which colleges you want it to go out to. So instead of having to like post a position several times in different locations, I'm posting it one time and then I'm just checking boxes as to where I want that posting to go. It just saves me time and then makes it just a little bit more efficient. I also like that whenever anybody does apply to a position, I get an email notification about that. So I don't have to constantly be going into Handshake and checking to see if, somebody's applied. There is also a student search feature on Handshake that I like as well. I don't use it too much, but if maybe a position requires like a certain degree, I can kind of go on there and sift through different students and send them, a message with a potential opportunity. And I also like that it's like a one-stop location for all the local job fairs. So that's kind of nice too. And then once I register for them, they're all there for me on like my homepage, so I can see, what's coming up or what I still need to register for. As far as dislikes, I don't really think there's like a true major dislike of Handshake. Maybe one thing I would like to know is if there are if there's any kind of like data that shows how many alumni are actually using Handshake once they graduate from college, because we do have more applications for our internship positions than we would for like our entry-level positions after they graduate. So that would be something I would want to know, but I wouldn't necessarily call it a dislike.
Yeah, that's probably something that's unique to each school that you're working with, the number of
Yeah.
alumni that are active in the system too. So yeah, that'll be interesting. I wonder if there's some annual Handshake reporting about alumni activity versus current student activity too. I'll look into that.
Perfect, thank you.
Could you talk a little bit about what advice you might give a new recruiter or someone just getting started in Handshake? What would be the best advice you have for them?
Yeah, so I think Handshake is like an easy platform. There's no real way to mess it up or anything like that. Like once you go in there and figure out how to move around, it's super easy to use. So super user friendly, but I would say my advice would be, even though we don't get a lot of hits on entry-level positions from Handshake, I would still encourage other companies to go ahead and post those on there, just because you never know, and it kind of allows you to cast your recruiting net just a little bit further. So, and I think it's just a platform that's often forgotten about. So just keeping that, in your back pocket is a good thing to do.
Great. I guess I didn't warn you about this one beforehand, but could you talk a little bit about the communication that you have with candidates when they apply in Handshake? What happens to the students once they apply?
Yeah, so when we post positions, how we set it up is that instead of applying within Handshake, once they click on it, it sends them like directly to our careers website. And then that has them apply directly through our system. But I do sometimes have candidates who will just like send a message and ask questions about a position. So the communication on there, I mean, I've had good communication experience. If they've sent me a message and I've sent them a message back, they're pretty responsive. Other communication on there would be like the virtual career fairs. That communication can get a little shaky, just because when it's virtual, the platform it's actually through Handshake. So if Handshake is having any kind of internet issues, or I'm having internet issues, the student having internet issues, that can get a little wonky sometimes. But other than that, communication is super simple. It's just like a messaging inbox is basically what it is. The student can send me a message, or I can send them a message. On my end, when I get a message, it does send me an email notification so that I know it's there. And I'm assuming it's the same way for the student. If I were to reach out to a student, they would get some kind of email notification as well, letting them know they have a message within Handshake. So
great. Anything else you want to say about Handshake?
No, I think that's it.
All right, thanks very much. Hopefully you're able to hear that okay. I know I've got the audio embedded in the PowerPoint, so you'll be able to hear Emerald's interview again if you want to go back and listen to that. I think we're going to be sending those the PowerPoint slides out to everyone after today. We'll talk a little bit about and look at some of the things that Emerald spoke about today as well within the system and kind of look at those directly. I did do some additional research on the alumni piece, and there is some information available. It is very school specific about how many alums are active in the system. So some of the senior level positions that you might be interested in posting in Handshake as well, it can be more effective at different schools. We're starting to get more and more alums using the system at Iowa. So it might make some sense to post some of those early career positions as well as the entry level positions in the system too, for the university especially. I had a chance to talk to some students as well about their use of Handshake. So I've got a couple of quotes from them, and I'll let you read those specifically. But in general, it's really helpful for them to be able to use the search function and the filters to be able to narrow things down. And we'll look specifically at that a little bit today. But students can narrow things down by location or by the type of job that is being performed, the majors that have been chosen. So all kinds of different things to be able to research. The big search functionality that was used this last year and a half was virtual. And so a lot of companies are putting virtual in the title of their jobs, and then also indicating that remote was possible within the posting itself. And that continues. A lot of companies have really learned how to offer a virtual internship experience. So they're offering more, and we have more internships being offered in the fall remotely than we've ever had before. So it's a possibility for students to be able to continue to have an internship experience in addition to taking their classes during the academic year. The big benefit for a student in that way is if they're trying to get credit for an internship, it will probably be included in their tuition in the fall or in the spring when they're doing an internship. In the summer, if they're not a student at that time or taking other classes, they might have to pay an additional amount at some schools to be able to get credit for that internship. At the University of Iowa, we have a special program where students are allowed to get an internship as a 0 credit notation. So if they're wanting to have it noted on their transcript, at the University of Iowa, they can do that for 0 credit and not have to pay for those credits. So that's just something that's fairly unique to Iowa, I believe. So it's not the same at every school. Okay, so there's some challenging news because it's really competitive right now for hiring. So in Handshake itself, there are over 500,000 companies and organizations that have accounts in Handshake. There about just over 20,000 of those organizations are connected with the University of Iowa. And largely they're from Iowa, Illinois, New York, DC, LA, and Seattle. We are getting about 100 new employers a week. So it's really active, and it's just kind of nonstop, and it has been for the last 6 months, I would say. As I mentioned, there's over 1,400 colleges and universities, and then there are about 15,000 Iowa students and alumni that have completed profiles in the system. Now, mostly students use it initially to find local part-time jobs. So we have all of our work study and local part-time positions and on-campus work positions posted in Handshake at the University of Iowa. So students are encouraged to get into Handshake early at Iowa to be able to connect with those local part-time positions and for the on-campus positions and the work study roles as well. So that's sometimes not the case at all schools. So some of the schools you're working with might have students just enter Handshake when they're starting to look for internships or full-time jobs. Hopefully that makes sense. Like this morning, for example, we had over 20,000 postings that were live, and I'll show you the breakdown here in a little bit, but they continue to come in very rapidly, about between 200 and 2,500 postings a week, close to 500 postings a day. So very active recruiting going on right now. Last year, we had about 75,000 postings for the whole year, which is a massive amount. compared to what we used to have. Before we had Handshake, we would have maybe 12,000 postings an entire year. But Handshake has really made the access between students and employers a lot easier. So the ability for an organization to create an account in Handshake and connect with over 1,400 schools has really increased that access to positions. You can see the breakdown there a little bit about the kind of jobs that are posted in Handshake. 70% are full-time jobs, and then 25% internships. And then that last 5% is kind of what we talked about before, those student employment positions, local part-time jobs, volunteer opportunities, and sometimes fellowships for graduate programs as well. On the right-hand side at the top there, you can see that it shows the classifications that are selected in postings. So most people select alumni and senior, and then it goes down from there. So obviously, there's quite a few folks that target sophomores and juniors for internships. And there are more and more companies and organizations that are offering internships for first-year students as well. So that's something that you would need to decide. And I'm happy to talk with you about that if you're considering doing that as well locally. Just the map at the bottom is kind of a heat map that shows where most of the positions are posting from, but you can see there are positions certainly all over the United States, and then many from around the world as well. Job function is something that an employer would select when they're posting a position in Handshake. So at the University of Iowa, these are the top selections in our postings here. So you can see that education, teaching, and training is by far one of the highest. Actually, I took out other, and that is actually the highest. And then education, teaching, and training is next to that. But these half of these dozen or so are a little bit higher than the other postings that are in the system. So it'll give you an idea of who's really active going on as far as postings go so far in Handshake. So as an employer, you can create an account. There are a couple of key things that we'll talk about that are important for employer accounts. One is that there is a specific owner for your account. So one person at your company or organization is the owner of the account, and that person will be kind of the gatekeeper for your account as well. They'll approve other recruiters to be in the system. So if you have multiple people in the system, that one person is the person in charge of that. We'll look at that within the system here, and we'll pop out in there in a little bit. But you can build your profile as an organization and a recruiter, schedule interviews, post positions, host virtual events, and then register and message students and search their profiles. And we'll look specifically in the system to see how that works and go from there. I've got some screenshots in the PowerPoint to show you kind of what an organizational profile will look like, but we're going to hop into Handshake and look at them directly now. I'm just going to scan through these quickly so you can kind of see what these pages will look like, and you'll be able to come back and refer to these if you have questions about what we talked about today. But we'll look specifically within the system here. I'm going to share my actual employer profile, and we'll just hop around in Handshake a little bit. So this is what my homepage looks like for my employer account. I have an employer account, a career services account, and a test student account that I can switch back and forth between. But this is what your homepage would look like as an employer. So as you can see, there's links at the top to be able to go post a job or request an interview or create an event. So you could use these links up here, or the same functionality is available on the left-hand side. So let's start with just by posting a job. For example, if you click on jobs, you can see all of the active job postings that are happening right now, which is 0 from the Pomerantz Career Center. But I can also look at all my expired postings as well. So these are all the postings that we've had in the past for the Pomerantz Career Center when we're trying to hire student employees or staff internally here. So for example, we have a front desk office assistant position. You can see that we've had 142 applicants for that position over the years. It's been posted for quite a while. It expired the last time on August 23rd. Regina is our front desk manager, and she reactivates this post so that she is able to track all of her applicants throughout time. So these are all the applicants that have applied since she started posting when we were in Handshake 3 years ago. So you can, in a job, if you're reactivating a position, for example, let's just click on front desk assistant and you can go in and see that. So there's a posting for the position. She's got the compensation in there and has the graduation date and the years in school that we prefer, that kind of thing. So all of those things can be selected. We have decided not to use a GPA preference or work authorization status because we're not required to in the Career Center. And major is not important for the front desk position as well. But I can go in and look at this old position though, and it's expired on 8/23, but I can either duplicate this job and start it again as a new position, and then I will track all those applicants separately, or I can reactivate the position as well. So I would just edit the expiration date and then make it go live again. But then I would have all of those old applications in the system as well as the new ones. So I guess if I were a recruiter, I would probably duplicate the position so that I would know who the new applicants were. I mean, it's pretty easy to tell because of the date when people apply, but you can go back and edit that as well. So that's basically the job posting functionality. To create a new job from scratch, you would click the create a new job posting and then fill out the form. You can, obviously, we talked about applying in Handshake or applying through an external system. If you click apply through an external system, then you can drop in your link to your website where they need to go, or the applicant tracking system, wherever you need to send them. So they'd be able to see that as well. So that's key for building that new position out and how you can set that up. This is where we talked about the job types, where you can select those. You have the choice of whether or not to make your profile public and to allow applicants to be able to message you directly, or to not allow students to message you directly and just have them apply through the system. So I think that there are some key interactions that happen as a part of that, depending on how detailed your position description is and how excited students are about that particular role. But it's a key way to look for that. But you basically go through this form, filling things out, the details and the preferences. It won't let me go forward because I haven't filled out all the forms yet, or all the fields yet. But that's basically posting a new position. I guess the easy part about it is, if you have the job description ready, you can just cut and paste from that job description and drop the things into Handshake to be able to have them displayed. So that's posting position. So I'll talk a little bit about researching schools and being able to find those. So you can add the University of Iowa, Cornell, Mount Mercy, and Kirkwood if you haven't already, or if you're just creating an account. But basically, we've got the University of Iowa as our favorite because we only post jobs to the University of Iowa because we're hiring for student workers, basically. So we are actually connected to several other colleges and universities because we've done some partnerships with them for different career fairs and events. So we've got those in the system. And then you can search to look for more schools in Handshake. So you're looking for specific things, and you can search by region. So if you have more luck in the Midwest, or if you have good luck in the South or West, you can target that area and find specific universities to be able to recruit from as well within the system. And you can select ranking or majors and specific areas and locations as well. So to get connected with those schools. Now, each school has the option to approve you or not as a connection with them. So some possible reasons for being turned down by a college or university could be that they don't feel like they have a program that fits with what you're hiring for. They might have some restrictions on certain types of organizations that can recruit on campus, like direct sales or staffing companies are sometimes prohibited from recruiting on certain campuses. There are some campuses that have restrictions on cannabis, and medical marijuana, for example, is another area where there might be some organizations that get turned down because of that restriction or requirement. So hopefully that makes sense. We'll have time for questions here at the end as well. But that's where you would connect to a school. And in order to request your connection, you would just click on the request button to get started with that college or university. Let's see. Emerald talked a little bit about searching for students, and that's something that you can do here. When you click on it, it pulls up all the students from the students that have public profiles at the colleges and universities that you're connected to. So you can narrow that down by, well, let's look at the University of Iowa, I guess. So that'll pull up all the public profiles from the University of Iowa, and you'll be able to sort through those there. You can see that there are 33,000 profiles that are public. So that means there are multiple levels of alumni that are in the system that may have not deactivated their account yet, or might have popped back into search. But you can narrow that down by school year if you're looking for entry-level roles or for internship positions. So you would just click on that and then select the school year that you're interested in. You can identify specifically by majors and by major category. This is kind of a topic area, and then these are specific majors that you would select on the left-hand side there. So that's a key way to be able to narrow things down. So let's just kind of narrow down a little bit. Let's look for a senior business administration major with an enterprise management certificate. Now we're down to 193 candidates. And then if you click on one of these students, this is actually a staff member here at the University of Iowa in our office. So you can see Sarah's test profile in the system. You could learn more about her, that she works as a peer career advisor. She's been a member of Dance Marathon and Women in Business. If you think that Sarah might be a fit, you could send her a direct message here. This particular case, Sarah has interacted with the Pomerantz Career Center before by applying for a position through the system. So that takes the limit of messaging off for a core user in Handshake. I guess let me state that again. A core user in Handshake only has, or the core company only has 100 messages that they can send to students directly through the system. In order to get additional messaging through the system, you have to be a premium member, I believe, of Handshake. But I'm going to tell you the way around that. If you're trying to message students and you don't want to use your messaging limit in the system, you would find Sarah in the system, for example. But then you could hop over to LinkedIn and find Sarah on LinkedIn and message her there. Or you could hop into the University of Iowa directories, type in Sarah's name here and find her there. And if her email is public, it would pop up there and you could message her directly from your account there. So hopefully that makes sense. And if you have more questions, I'm happy to go through that again for you. But in summary, you have basically 100 messages per semester for your organization to reach out to students directly through Handshake. But you could use LinkedIn or campus directories to be able to find their contact information and reach out to them outside of the system directly from your personal, or not personal email, I wouldn't do that. From your company email would be a good way to connect. All right, hopefully that makes sense. But that's the way you can search for students and kind of narrow things down if you're looking for something more specific. There's a keyword search function in that area. So like if you need someone who can do Java, for example, knows that programming language, or maybe serve coffee, you could search there and find someone who has maybe some Java experience in that way. So that's a good way to search there. To be able to see a student's resume, they have to have interacted with you in a career fair setting or a virtual information setting, or applied for one of your positions. Now, if they've interacted with you at a virtual career fair, for example, then you will have access to an RSVP folder that will allow you to be able to download every student's resume that interacted with you at that system, at that event. So that'll give you an idea. There used to be a way for students to make their resumes public, but now they have to apply or have to interact with you for you to be able to see their resume. At any time, you can ask them to send you a resume, obviously, and that's something that's employer contacts you on the regular. Let's look at career fairs next. I'll show you a little bit about that and being able to find those within the system. So this pulls up the list of all career fairs that are in the system right now that I would have access to at the University of Iowa. And there are 1,200 virtual and 756 physical career fairs that are happening probably this fall, I would guess, that are in the system right now. I can just show my favorite schools only, which my favorite school is the University of Iowa. Surprise, surprise. And these are all the events that we have at the University of Iowa this fall. So just to give you an example of some of the things, you as members of the Cedar Rapids Metro Economic Alliance are all eligible to attend, for example, this virtual ICR, Collegiate Career Fair, that we're doing in partnership with Cornell, Kirkwood, and Mount Mercy. I think you'll hear a little bit more about that later today too. But you could click on one of these and register for the event. And then if it's a virtual event that is being hosted in Handshake, then the Handshake has the opportunity for you to be able to set up a schedule and meet individually with students, or offer group information sessions as a part of that career fair as well. So there are two options during that virtual fair. And then we also have some in-person fairs that are coming up as well. So if you would click on one of those, these are both sold out. So I don't think engineering is yet, but they might be. But you can see that there'd be a fair description, the kind of students that are going to be attending, the time and location, and then you could click on the register button in order to register for that event within the system. I'll hop over to events quick and show you a little bit about those too. So these are our past events, but this is something where you could request to host an event at on campus or virtually through the system as well. So you would click on the request an event button and then fill out the form, much like you would for posting a job or another opportunity within the system. So those are really the basics about using the system within Handshake. So I guess we could talk a little bit more about your company profile, and going back to that. Only the person who owns your company profile has access to edit it. But you could make suggestions, I guess, for what could be included in that. And what I would include for sure is any staff that would like to be public and are willing to be contacted by prospective job seekers. Make sure that that's there. Any DEI resources, any advancement resources, any opportunities to be involved with the community as a part of their experience with working with your organization. Any of those kind of things should and could be posted in your Handshake profile. You can do some of that as well in your individual profile, posting your own specific work experience, connecting with your alma maters, whichever those happen to be. I actually went to Luther and Western Washington University for grad school, so those are in there. So I think if my profile was public, students from those schools could reach out to me too and talk to me about what kind of work experience I've had and the kind of jobs that I've had as well. Or if I was hiring, they would know that. So that's kind of an overview of the initial account and how to use it and how to connect with different students and post those positions. I'll go back to the PowerPoint here again, and we'll go from there. Okay, I feel like I've been talking a lot, but here we are back, I think, at the PowerPoint. Hopefully, let's try and change the slide. Are you seeing the find and attend career fairs page right now? Okay, good. Well, we just kind of talked about that and showed where that was in the system, so you'll be able to refer back to that as well. And then that was the info on searching public and student profiles and being able to message students. So I kind of touched on some of these as we were going through the system. We're getting close to the end here, but I wanted to talk a little bit more about making sure that if you're able to enhance your job descriptions at all, that's an opportunity within Handshake if you're allowed to change them, allowed to give some more descriptions and talk about more about what it's like to work there and that social impact and stuff that we talked about, all these things that are listed in the list here. If you're able to post salary information, a range, that's always important for students to be able to see if at all possible. We talked about the remote versus in-person and the options for remote. That's key right now as well. Also those diversity and equity and inclusion resources, and if there are employee resource groups that you can talk about as well, that's key in that, especially in the employer profile when students are able to research you within the system. At the University of Iowa, we also have a mock interview program, and we encourage employers that have time to be able to help students practice those interviews. So we offer those throughout the year and have volunteers come in either for a half day or a full day, either virtually or in person, help students practice their interview skills and then give them feedback right away on the spot there. It helps build the brand on campus, and I think many other colleges and universities have different mock interview programs as well to get connected with. And then, as we mentioned, building your brand on campus definitely means being involved in the fairs and the events that are offered throughout the year. I've kind of curated a list of additional resources here. The Handshake resources for employers is key. It talks a lot about everything we talked about today and walks you through with videos on if you get stuck posting a job or anything like that. All those resources are available through the Handshake website. They've got a really nice setup built there. They actually, once you have an account, you would have access to Handshake University, and it's a kind of a certification course you can take and go through and get kind of certified to use Handshake. And so it's a great opportunity to be able to connect there. I've also put up our links here for the University of Iowa, but I would encourage you to, if you'd like, you can go to Cornell, Mount Mercy, or Kirkwood and connect there. Each of their career centers has a link on their pages as well. So if you prefer to connect directly through one of those schools, I would encourage you to do that. It's really important now more than ever for us to be inviting the thousands of students that choose to come here for their education destination, to invite them to stay here and work. That's not necessarily a University of Iowa statement. That's my personal statement about how important it is for us to keep continuing to grow our workforce in our region. It's important for us, for the Economic Alliance, for Iowa City, Cedar Rapids, both to recruit those entry-level students to come here and stay here. So I encourage you to do that. Invite students to stay. That's me. My contact info will be in the slides. And am I wearing the same outfit? Nope, different shirt. Okay, that would be embarrassing. All right. Well, I'm glad to have had you on the call today, and I'll take any questions that you have. Guess I should follow the chat just in case there.
Yeah, if anybody does have questions, make sure to take yourself off mute too. All right, well, if nobody has any questions, I'll go ahead and wrap it up here. So thank you, Allan. If anybody does have questions that they'd like to send Allan, I'll send his contact information after the program today. And like he said, they're also in the slides, which I'll also be sending. And additionally, I'll be sending the recording for the program today. Another thank you to Northwestern Mutual for sponsoring our programs, and Seth, thank you for joining us today. I'll also be sending out his contact information if you want to get in touch with Northwestern Mutual for your financial planning. Along with that, I'll also be sending out a survey to all of you. That's going to help us plan for our topics for 2022 monthly programs. So keep an eye out for that follow-up email, and please take that if you can. Also, Allan mentioned this earlier, but now that you've learned about Handshake, we have an opportunity for you to use it in a few weeks here. So let me quick share my screen here. All right. Okay, so on October 5th, the Economic Alliance, along with the Iowa City Area Development Group and regional colleges and universities, are hosting a virtual collegiate career fair on Handshake. You can put your new Handshake skill set to use and connect with college students and alumni from Coe College, Cornell College, Mount Mercy University, the University of Iowa, and Kirkwood Community College. It's a career fair that you can do from the comfort of your home office. So that online fair runs from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. You can schedule group or one-on-one meetings with prospective employees, and the event is free, but you do need to register online. So I'll go ahead and put this link in the chat, but I'll also include it in that follow-up email as well. One second while I get that going here. All right. And then just a couple of upcoming programs that I want to touch on. Hiawatha, the city of Hiawatha has their Hiawatha Business Summit next Tuesday, September 21st at BDC Group in Hiawatha. We also have our Market After Dark that's coming up again this year on Saturday, September 25th. And then we did have an insurance program scheduled for August 17th, and that has been rescheduled for October 7th. It's titled "That Would Never Happen to Me, Protecting Your Company and Employees with the Right Kind of Insurance." And again, that's Thursday, October 7th with Lindsay Handy and Spencer Stevens from Sheets Forest Draper Insurance. And sorry, I forgot to put that in the chat. And lastly, I just want to thank everyone for coming. We got a couple of extra minutes here for your day. So again, thank you for coming. Keep an eye out for that follow-up email. Thank you, Allan, again. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day. So thank you for coming.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for having me.
much.
If you have additional questions, I'm available most of the day today.
Thank you.